Pool season's around the corner. Let's go. That intro got me all hyped up, makes me want to go have some drinks at the pool. Summer's in 6 weeks. I'm gonna try my best to get your body pool ready. Is that possible? Stay till the end and learn how. Is 6 weeks enough time? It's gonna be a lot of work, but if you work hard, you'll be able to wind down in the pool. I talked about alcohol in a previous video. Here's why you should cut back. For those that don't know me, as well as a retired athlete, I'm a winemaker with multiple harvests under my belt. So I do know this topic very, very well. Winemaking starts the minute you pick the grape from the vine. From there, you'll destem, crush, and press the wine, then you'll let it ferment. During the fermentation process, this is where the sugar will convert into alcohol. It's the calories. Alcohol calories are sneaky. Since they converted from a carbohydrate, we no longer account for them in our macros. And because these calories are unaccounted for, they tend to stack up. This is why it's important to know how many calories you're drinking in your beverages each night. So for example, if I have 2 glasses of wine, that's roughly around 300 calories. I want to make sure that I'm expending that energy the next day, especially first thing in the morning. I'll wake up, take entropy out, we'll go for a walk. If I had 2 glasses of wine, I'll go for an hour walk. The calories and the walk that I take are separate from my training and separate from my macronutrients. It's very important to note that these calories are not included into my daily plan. My whole philosophy is work hard, wind down. It's also about earning your grapes. So if I'm gonna have a couple beverages, I make sure that I reward myself with that walk the next day. The other thing to consider is nutrition. You want to be getting 1 gram of protein per pound of desired body weight. Now that may seem kind of easy, but it is not. It is very challenging. If you're trying to get to be 150 pounds, you need to be eating 150 grams of protein. You can get protein from eggs, steak, a variety of sources. It is very difficult. Typically, people might be getting 60 grams of protein and 150 grams of fat. You're now going to want to reverse that. It is challenging, but I like to try to get protein in at every meal and snack. And a guide is 20 to 30 grams at each meal or snack, and that will help you get to your protein intake for the day. Protein yields protein synthesis, which will help us build muscle. The more muscle we have, the more fat we'll burn. Steak and eggs burrito, protein, a little bit of fat, a little bit of carbs. Another way of losing fat is making sure your drinks don't have any sugar. If you need some substitutes, club soda, water with lime or cucumbers or mint, or adding some electrolytes or salts to your water can be a great substitute. The more sugar you take in or consume, the more insulin your body is going to produce. The more insulin you have, it's going to be harder to lose fat. So really be aware of how much sugar you're taking in on a daily basis and try to cut back. So majority of your fat loss is going to come from your nutritional choices and what you're eating or not eating in the kitchen, but it will come from exercise as well, specifically long, steady cardio. Now there's 3 different ways we can implement exercise into our routine. If you're relatively new, I highly recommend long, steady cardio. What does that mean? If you're relatively new or haven't done any exercise, start with 5 minutes of walking after each meal. Eventually you want to accumulate about 1 hour of walking each day. If you feel like you've already done some exercise or already done some walking, you can start with 10 to 20 minutes of walking each day and then slowly add that up. You can start with 2 to 3 days a week, eventually getting to 5 to 6 days a week. You'll eventually get to the point where you could go for an hour walk 4 to 5 to 6 times a week. Being patient and increasing the time or the duration that you're walking will also be very helpful for yourself for your fat loss journey. Some of the benefits of walking will be improving your cardiovascular system. So you're getting outside, you're getting blood flow through the entire body. Also some of the benefits, if it's nice and sunny, you're gonna get some vitamin D, which is important for the body. You're also gonna be outside in nature. There's been some studies that have shown being outside in nature can be very therapeutic, not only for your body and your mind, but also on the cellular level. So going outside and getting walking in will improve multiple things, not just the cardiovascular system. The other thing to implement is strength training or weight training. That can be with dumbbells, kettlebells, barbells, sandbags, any sort of external load. Strength training is going to help you build muscle. As you build muscle, you'll be able to burn more fat. That will also aid in your fat loss journey. Strength training could include basic movements like dumbbell lunges, where you're resisting not only your body weight, but also load. Doing some single leg or dumbbell deadlifts. Working the posterior chain is going to help you build muscle. If you're relatively new, start with some light weight. It doesn't have to be 35s, it can be 5, 10s, some small change plates, but the importance is going to be some sort of external load on your body. This will also help with bone density. So it's not just for the exercise, but also longevity in your body as you get older. The last component of exercise or training is going to be high intensity interval training. This is going to elicit that neuroendocrine response. It's going to help you build muscle and also burn fat.
High intensity means you have some sort of work, then you rest, and you repeat that for 2 to 4 rounds. This is gonna push your body, challenge yourself to get to anaerobic system, and then rest, recover to help your body get into that state where you're able to burn fat and carbs later. Stimulating the neuroendocrine response is gonna help you build muscle and burn fat.
The last thing I want you to consider for the next 6 weeks is your sleep. How many hours of sleep you're getting. If you're not getting that many hours, meaning
4 to 5 hours, try to see if you can increase, even if it's half an hour, 4.5 hours, 5.5 hours. That's gonna help you recover. The sleep is your recovery. Think of it as like your recharge, like a battery. You plug something into the wall to recharge, your sleep is your recovery. So if you're not getting that many hours, try to increase slightly. If you sit in front of a computer or your phone or the TV, try to cut back at least half an hour so you can get ready for bed and decompress and try to get that extra half an hour of sleep. Ideally, 7 to 8 hours would be nice, but if that's not doable, try to get as close as you can.
For today's mobility segment, we're gonna start down on the floor. We are gonna get into a tabletop position. So hands are underneath my shoulders, knees underneath my hips, and we're going to do a dynamic thread the needle. We're gonna start with the right arm going up, inhaling, twist. As you twist, you're gonna reach the arms high, and then as you exhale, you're gonna thread your arm all the way through, twisting, rotating, trying to get the right shoulder underneath that left shoulder. This is gonna help with rotation in the thoracic spine, and also help you warm up a little bit of the shoulders. So you'll hold for a couple seconds, and you'll come back. You'll move through that for 1 minute on the right side, then you'll switch, same thing on the left side. I like to inhale up, allows me to fill my lungs, and then as I exhale, I thread my arms through. And then hold, and then twist. After that, we're gonna get into dynamic dragon. So I'm gonna bring my left leg up, create a 90-degree angle with my front leg, 90-degree angle with back leg. Then we're gonna tuck our pelvis as if it was a bucket, make sure it doesn't spill forward. I like to do this because it allows me to keep more conscious awareness of where my hips are at in space. It also gives me a bigger stretch in the right leg. Then from there, I'm going to reach my hand up and over, twisting, rotating. I like to incorporate a lot of stretches and exercises that have a two dual purpose. So I'm opening up my hips here, but I'm also opening my rib cage and upper body as we'll be doing some pressing overhead later for our lifting. Dynamically on that one side. Then we'll switch, same thing, other side, pushing. I can even use my opposite hand to push my hips, reach over, even look to the sky as you feel that stretch. So again, 1 minute, then we're gonna come back to the floor, left leg's gonna come up into that dynamic pigeon. We're gonna stay elevated here. We're gonna walk from the left to the center and then to the right. My back leg is nice and long, untucked, and as I sit into this pose, I'm trying to think of pushing my shin into the floor, keep my torso upright. I like to stay elevated here as it allows me to push a little bit more weight into that bottom leg. If at any point it's too much for your knee joint, drop your butt and thigh to the side. This is one of my favorite stretches and I've incorporated it over the years. It has allowed me to help open up my glute and butt, but also has allowed me to improve my squat position and also pulling position. So 1 minute you'll move dynamically, then we'll switch. 1 minute on the opposite side as well. I highly suggest you guys start on your most tight or tightest side. So if that is your right, do right, then go to your left. Same thing, dynamically moving. And if at any point this is too much, you can take a block or a box or even a roll-up ab mat and put it underneath your butt to elevate your thigh slightly. Gives you a little bit of extra support underneath there. We're going to pivot to a seated straddle. Legs are nice and wide. I'm going to try to push my hips forward as much as you can. If you can't get your legs as wide as possible like mine are, that's okay. Use an object in front of you to pull yourself forward. We're going to hold here for 1 minute, moving from the left, center, right, right, center, left. So opening up the inner thighs. This will allow you to feel better overall because we're opening up your inner thighs, your adductors, but also a bit of your back as well. So get as far forward as possible as you can in this positioning. Again, this is a stretch I've incorporated into my routine and it has helped immensely with my back and hips. Lastly, we're going to close with butterfly. Soles your feet together, creating that butterfly of your feet. You can interlock your hands at the base of your toes and pull yourself forward. Now, if you're super tight, push your feet further away. You create more of a diamond shape. This is great to open up the hips, hip flexors, a little bit of the back as well. I want to think of driving my forehead to my feet as I pull into this position. And again, if you have a hard time, you can always separate your feet to create a little more space in the hips to mimic your hip joint, and then slowly pull yourself forward. As you get more comfortable, the further down you can go. After you finish that mobility, that'll wrap up today's session.